Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray. And folks, we are broadcasting as usual from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you are fed up with the mega bank experience, if you're at one of those banks, you know what I'm talking about and you know what you're experiencing. Soul-crushing impersonal service. Let's just call it what it is. Here's the thing. At Renaissance, here's what the clients that I refer to Renaissance tell me, that Renaissance is big enough to handle pretty much any need that they have in their business, but they're small enough to deliver those services in a personal way. That's a magic combination that you don't find everywhere, and Renaissance has it right now, and that's what I hear. So go to renaissancebank.com, find one of their local offices, and be in touch, and I think you'll be glad you did. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome a longtime friend. Deborah Schwartz Griffin is with us. She is the founder of Creative Connector. Deborah, welcome.
John, it's always a pleasure.
Always great to be with you. For the three people that don't know who you are, let's introduce you and tell them how you're serving folks out there.
John, first of all, thank you for having me. I am known as a connector, a rainmaker, and a deal maker for business owners, business leaders, whether they're in the nonprofit sector, for-profit, whether they have a need in building their brand, personal brand, company brand, helping them identify who their ideal client is, the best referral partner for them, and then what's the value that they bring so that they can not only grow their business, but they can give back and do well by doing good in the community of Atlanta. So that's helping them get involved in nonprofits, whether it's board service, starting as a volunteer. But when you give and serve others, it always comes back.
I underline that. Thank you for that. What you said right there at the end, absolutely, it always comes back. What is the motivator for this work? You've been doing this a long time, Deborah, and you obviously started when you were 3 years old doing this work. What makes you passionate about this work of connecting people?
I grew up in a family of salespeople. My mom was a realtor. My dad was in men's clothing. My sister was in ladies' clothing. My brother was a dentist. And I watched and observed. I was the youngest in the family. And I watched all the connecting points, all the nuances, from the body language to what they said, to how they say it, how they said it, and how it came across. And from those years doing that, it just became me, and it became my sweet spot in identifying when people weren't being treated well, when they were, when they had a need, whether there was a sense of excellence. And so I built that into my college, when I went to college, and my growth at Ohio State University. I majored in broadcast journalism, and because I grew up in a family of news people, went into broadcast news. And from there, I went into broadcast sales, radio and television, in San Antonio and then in Atlanta. And I was with WSB-TV on that sales side, co-op advertising and business development. And I really built my continued business acumen in helping people identify who their target market is by understanding their industry, their value proposition, how they convey who their ideal client is, what's their sense of purpose, and what's their who. I find that if people know who they are and the value they bring personally as a person and as a professional, it makes it a lot easier for them to convey that same self-confidence in bringing on a client. And people have a feeling, they know when someone feels good about themselves or when they're still trying to figure it out. So I help my clients, business leaders, again, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, with all of those things. And they come to me with a dilemma. I call it a puzzle piece. And I live in a world of color because the world is full of color, full of ideas. And I'm always looking to bring in one more idea, one more strategic partner, one more sense of collaboration. So I believe and I teach my clients and my colleagues and my friends to collaborate, to always have the ability and the reason to want to hear one more idea that may move something forward. And I do that and love it, and that's the joy.
You have to, what does it say about you that you get joy out of that, though? See, I guess what I'm getting to is there are a lot of people in this world that walk through life and they're looking out for number one, and that's where they get their joy, is their own success, not the success of others. So you get your joy in helping others create success for themselves. And so what does that say about you? How did you, I understand what you said about your family, but that doesn't automatically mean that you come out of a family like that with that kind of attitude and with that kind of philosophy of life.
If you're looking at it from the standpoint of Stephen Covey and look at the end in mind, what is it that you want to leave people with? Mm-hmm. What do you want people to think and remember about you? And what is your legacy? And I want my legacy to be, and I want my clients and my friends to think this way, that if you believe in serving others and you believe in identifying who you understand to be what their need is and how you can help them, it does come back to you in making money versus me talking about myself, my clients talking only about themselves and what they bring without saying, tell me about you. What about you? Tell me about your story. Mm-hmm. And so I teach my clients to ask and learn, what is your personal story? Tell me about you, because if I like that person, I'm going to want to help that person make money. If it's in my round table, if they get to know the members by who they are as a person, just like making a friendship or making a friend, they will more likely want to say, okay, so tell me more about your business. And then from that, if they see and sense an opportunity, only then in my roundtable do they hand out a business card and schedule a meeting versus handing out a business card and expecting that good things are going to happen. So we're much more, and I am much more relational, mm-hmm. but very organized with what we call a game plan and a playbook. So what's the overall strategy and goal for success, and how are you going to get there is very important in what I teach my member clients.
Got it. And maybe we need to back up because I'm not sure we made that clear. So let's, in terms of how folks that are a member of what so I think we skipped that step. Let's talk about the Creative Connector Collective and what that is. And then we'll come back around to what you do in that group.
Okay, so I started my company in 2001, Creative Connector. I had been with WSB for 12 years, and I was over business development and co-op advertising. And after bringing a number of business and industries to television, taking them away from radio and print, I had become well known for my expertise in home building and associations and colleges and universities. And when I decided to move away and move on from WSB, it was because I was ready to start my own company. Mm-hmm. And so from that came creating my company, Creative Connector, focusing on strategic business development, having a strategy and a plan, the rifle approach, not the shotgun approach. Number 2, strategic selling. Number 3, building partnerships and alliances. And number 4, building your brand in the community. And so that company that I've had since 2001, with the tagline, connecting people to people and ideas to results, resulted in me bringing on a client and starting a CEO roundtable with that client. And then from that came me creating my own organization called Creative Connector Collective, mm-hmm. which is a gathering of like-minded business, civic, philanthropic leaders that want to build their business, generate more revenue, and build sustaining referral partnerships, which is really what the world is about. And within that is also giving back to the community. So in my collective, we have for-profit members and nonprofit members. We have the Atlanta Community Food Bank and Angel 911, which focuses on Alzheimer's and dementia and respite care. And then we have B2B businesses, and we have financial and legal advisors. We have health and wellness experts. We have restaurants and catering and caterer members. We have retail and recreation from the Atlanta Hawks to many others. So we have a cadre of industries from sole proprietors all the way to $1 million companies. Age group from the youngest being 26 to 80, multicultural. And we meet as a mastermind. So we meet much more of a mastermind meets a Vistage. Everyone has heard of Vistage, versus a chamber or a leads group. I teach our members to not hand out business cards until they really build a rapport with their fellow member. And then from that relationship comes, oh, tell me more. And then from that comes, oh, I think there's an opportunity here. So let's get together.
Yeah. And we were talking about this before we came on the air, that what you contend is that you can go a long way in business, rise in authority, stature in the community, success in your business, and still not know how to adequately connect with people. So say more about that, because this is people, I think people looking at it from the outside don't believe that have never done it, don't believe it. They think you're a natural at connecting and making strategic connections, and you argue that's not the case.
It's being an athlete. Athletes don't practice every other day or every other month or 6 times a year. They really practice their abilities every day. And when you're in business, you have to do that every day. And you have to mix that up with eating well and working out, because if your body doesn't feel good, then you're not going to feel good. So it's really juggling athleticism and working out with eating the right foods, and then that's taking care of you. And once you take care of you, then you can be all the other things that we're talking about right now. I think from a business perspective, what you asked me was, and I teach people to have a game plan and a playbook. So like in sports, I compare for making connections.
Okay.
Yes. So in business, business is like sports. You have to have the game plan, the overall arching, and then you have to have the playbook. How are we going to get there? What are the tactics? And I find that some people, if they don't get it from their parents and their upbringing, maybe they get it from school and college. If they don't get it there, then once they get into their industry, hopefully they have a mentor and an advocate within the company. And sometimes not. That relates to the fact that some people are introverts and some people are extroverts. And if you're not a natural hunter, if you don't naturally enjoy connecting with people overtly, but you're good once you sit down with a person one-on-one, then that's great. But if you're someone that has to work a room and go to an event and you're, again, an introvert, not an extrovert, then someone needs to help you along the way. And so that's what I find in business, is that some people have not been taught or not helped, haven't been coached, haven't had the mentor to identify that they're an introvert, but that doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that someone needs to help them identify their strengths. It's like taking that sheet of paper and drawing three lines down the paper. What gives me joy? What am I great at? And what am I not good at? And once you look at all those things, then you call one list. You call one list, and that list is what I should really be focusing on. And so for me, in helping my member clients or my clients, period, it's helping them identify that, is admitting what are they comfortable with and what it gives them joy, and how are they making money now, and what's holding them back, and what is their goal for the year, and what does success look like for them. So that's really key, is what does success look like for you this year? And are you doing that? And if you're not, why not? I hope that helps.
No, it does help. It helps. But the problem with talking to you, Deborah, is that I end up having 5 questions, and I've only can ask one at a time because you say things that prompt things for me, and which is a good thing. Deborah Schwartz Griffin is with us, folks. She's the founder of Creative Connector Collective. So,
and Creative Connector.
And the Creative Connector, yes. Deborah, I'll pick one of those questions that came to mind. Let's talk about the biggest mistakes that you see business leaders make when it comes to building their relationships.
They don't spend time doing it. They will, let's say they identify a client. It could be a warm referral, or they met them at a meeting, and they get to know them a little bit. They get their business card. And then instead of really doing like you do in a friendship where you want to get to know the person, to then uncover how you can help them. And then they ask you the same thing. And then together you come away with, okay, so I have these 3 outcomes or these 3 next steps that I need to do. If they don't do that, then it doesn't get anywhere, and if it gets anywhere, it comes to the typical, let me put together a proposal for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they put a proposal together, it's something that it does not include all the other things that make someone want to say, oh, this person really listened to me. Oh, this person really understands what I just said. Oh, this person really can help me get from here to here. And so that even if let's say someone has already someone in your business, John,
mm-hmm.
but they like what they heard from you, they may be open to getting a second opinion from you, a second opinion proposal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to engender someone, again, asking the right questions and really talking to them like they're a friend. And then
Right.
The other thing is, you don't want to ever shoot out a proposal. You want to come back and meet someone in person and walk them through it.
Mm-hmm.
That ability to have that body language and that sense of, again, I am not a consultant, I'm your advisor, I'm your resource. That then helps in that person saying, okay, this person not only listened to me, but is taking the time to show me how I can get there. And there's too many people that don't do that because they feel too much time.
Mm.
But the ability to have a high closing ratio, or as I say, bringing on a new client, is doing all those steps. And so my tagline, connecting people to people and ideas to results, there are connecting points all along the way. And my success rate of understanding those and connecting those dots, and it's not just 3 dots, it could be 7 or 8, but ultimately when it happens, it's so exciting that it's the difference between success and not.
Mm-hmm. So you've got this group that, again, the Creative Connector Collective, that meets on a monthly basis.
Second Thursday of every month.
And you are, what's the best way to say it? You're just much more intentional, I think that's one word, about how those meetings go than what is typical. So this is not the typical lunch and learn. This is not the typical networking gathering. You make sure it dives much deeper than that.
Yeah, I set our members up for success by understanding their business and then helping them meet then other members in the organization that could either be a prospect that needs their business because there's a sense of urgency or a need, or a referral partner that may not need their business but may have someone in their network. Mm-hmm. And I teach our members to not think just who's in the room today, but who's in each other's network.
Mm.
So it's not just who's in the room. And that's short-sighted, and that's something that I think a lot of people do. Oh, I went to this meeting and there was no one there, and that's very short-sighted because It could be the speaker that spoke, it could be the members, but it's really, again, having a game plan before you go to any meeting. For example, getting the list of who the attendees are and looking at who's speaking. And 9 out of 10 times, the speaker could be a client. but it's also how you approach them. Same thing with any of the other people that are in the at the meeting. It's really understanding first who's attending, doing your homework so that you're not wasting your time and it's not just another meeting that you're going to. In my organization, I set them up for success. So that's what we call it, preparing for success and being set up for success. And that means that before any meeting, we've already identified who they need to talk with that's in their pipeline. And we talked earlier about, what is a pipeline? And a pipeline is, again, a list of who we see as potential clients for them or referral partners. And then understanding their business and then setting up a discovery meeting, usually a Zoom, and having that conversation. And then I help them take that from a prospect to an opportunity to a client. And so I do monthly pipeline meetings with our members. And there's no organization in Atlanta that offers that. And I put that under the umbrella of being their mentor, their advocate, and their sponsor.
That's a highly distinguishable trait. I underlined this, that there are so many of these meetings that are basically set up as please attend, but there's nothing that comes before and after that helps make the meeting a success. That's really what it comes down to, is preparing for the meeting, and that's what you help your attendees do. And then following up after the meeting in terms of where folks need to be connected with each other.
They don't leave the meeting until they book a meeting with them, only if they see there's an opportunity. So we don't, again, it's nuances. If I meet someone and we bond and then we decide we want to have lunch or a drink, it's because we've really gotten to know the person and it was exciting. There's a sense of excitement.
Right.
And that's what we're going for in my organization, is remembering that sense of excitement and ahas and epiphanies. And that's the exciting part, so that naturally you either bring them on as a client or you have a referral partner that's going to become enduring and sustaining. And that's the exciting thing to see. And there's many examples of that, because this goes on with me and my members every day, every week, every month. But can you make revenue out of it? Does it become? Yes, because when they join or when they renew, that's telling you that you're doing something right. And the other thing I would say is coming to the meetings and being present in the moment means listening. That means not thinking about what you're going to say next, but really being in the moment. And you haven't asked me, but I would say the elements of my roundtable are what we call strategic connecting. So I feel that networking is passé and that the term for us is strategic connecting. That means you have a game plan before you walk in the door, as opposed to just straight networking. And then from that comes the mastermind segment, which is about 45 minutes. And that's where everyone, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, whoever you are that's a member or a guest, is sharing what's working, what's not, what are their successes, what's their game plan, who's holding them accountable, etc. And when you hear that from everyone starts learning more about each other, and then from that comes much more of an openness to want to meet with them from a business standpoint.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Let's get to success stories. You mentioned the success stories that have come out of this approach that you have helped foster and engender along the way. Obviously, we don't have to mention names, but if you could just talk about some of the success stories that mark the great work you do.
There's too many. There's so many. I have to figure. I would say that one would be, recently went to a well-known restaurant that's been around 56 years. Hadn't been there in about 10 years. Read an article about them in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Sent the owner the article. I said, "I'm so happy for you, Mazel Tov." She said, "Oh my God, I've heard such wonderful things about your roundtable from another restaurateur." I said, let me make a reservation with Jim. We'll come and eat. We went there a couple weeks ago, and it was an amazing experience. And from that came a conversation about my roundtable, because I ate there. I spent time with her. I got to see the family again. It had been 10 years. And then before we leave, I'm noticing someone that looked familiar. And it turned out that one of my mentors, and I can mention this, is George McCarrow, Ted's Montana Grill, co-founder and founder of Longhorn Steaks, etc. And he had recently gone to one of my other member locations for a business meeting. And so here I'm at this restaurant, and I meet this woman, and it turns out not only is she a server at this restaurant, but she actually works for George. And she's actually in the Department of HR, and she actually does events. And she was a woman that set up an event for another one of my members, and they had been wanting to meet her because they weren't there when she did her event. And so here I am having dinner at this restaurant and finding out that this woman is going to be the person that I can then let my other client know in the organization and help them meet again and go back and have another experience. And there's a lot of connecting points. Had I not been there for dinner, never would have met her, never would have asked. And if I had not asked her, what else do you do besides being a server? Never would have known that she works for Ted's Montana Grill. So there's a lot of things like that where you have to naturally ask questions. And then, of course, I followed up, sent an email, sent a card, all those things.
Yeah, sure.
I'd say that in business these days, you've got to be very engaged in social media and not come across as a salesperson, but show what you're doing to make a difference. You want to focus on what's the experience someone is having with you. What's the experience that they're receiving from knowing you? Not what do you do, or not a pat on your own back, but in social media, it's all about showing how you're helping others. And within that, people can read that there's success in it. And from that, they get to know you. And I get a ton of social media requests about my business without them even having gone to my website. And a lot of that goes on.
Tell me about it.
And I'm amazed
Yeah,
that
right.
people. So
Right.
anyway, we don't let that happen in the Creative Connector Collective.
Yeah, very personal experience that you run. So that's terrific. Deborah, I think this has been fabulous, and I can't imagine there aren't some folks that wouldn't want to be in touch and learn more about your work. So let's give them directions on how to find you and how to connect.
My direct line is 404-630-55. The best email for me is Deborah@creativeconnectorcollective.com. And my website is creativeconnector.com. And I'm in the throes of building the Creative Connector Collective website. And that will be up in September. But in the meantime, you can learn all about this through Creative Connector.
And certainly by being in touch directly. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for the great work you do. And we're just delighted we could shine a light again on that work. So thank you, Deborah.
Well, John, thank you. You're a doll, as I always tell you, and you actually are going to be a speaker for us in January for the Creative Connector Collective. So I'm honored that you will be one of our fireside chat speakers.
I'm honored to be asked. So thank you so much for that. The honor's mine, truly. So thank you for that. I look forward to it. We'll have a good time that day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, just a couple of quick things before we let you go for today. If you want traditional, classic, authentic Italian food and you don't know where to go, then you don't know about Casanova Italian restaurants. Maria Fondora and her family have been running this restaurant for now over 25 years, almost 26 years, I think. And they are terrific. They were farm to table, for example, before that was cool. They had a garden behind their restaurant have had that for years. So the tomatoes, corn, peppers, zucchini, herbs, the other ingredients they have in their cook to order dishes are right straight out of the garden. And it makes a difference when it comes to the great pasta, chicken, seafood, veal dishes that they serve. They also have vegetarian options, by the way. Go to CasanovaRestaurant.com to learn more. The restaurant is located on Highway 9, just north of McFarland in the Alpharetta area. There are folks that drive all the way from Noonan. I happen to know that for a fact, to get to this restaurant. Check them out. I think you'll be glad you did. And remember, they do great catering work as well. I have a book out. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. If you are a services provider and you're having issues with expressing and understanding your value, your positioning, if you have business development and pricing problems, this book is written for you. Go to thegenerositymindset.com to learn more and to find out where to buy the book. Also, which is essentially everywhere. Also, I just want to thank you, our listeners. So here's the story. We are coming up on show number 800, and I don't know where I thought we were going to go when we started this series, but 800 was not on my mind. But we've only gotten this far because of you, because you continue to support us in the ways that you do. For example, sending me notes of support and liking us on social media, commenting on posts so that our guests get more exposure, sending us guests. You do all that kind of supportive work, and without that, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you for that. You help us live into our mission to be the voice of business in this region, and we are grateful for your support. So for my guest, Deborah Schwartz Griffin, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.